There is no place to put this many bodies. The morgues are completely full in this part of Japan, that at this moment in time, there are not enough living to take care of the dead.
This wouldn't be the usual reaction, video I usually do, because YouTube just popped up this on my screen out of the blue, and it reads the day that almost ended the world, 2011 Japan. And me just passing by YouTube, I just clicked on it, watched a few minutes, and I had to pause and stop it right there. Because a whole lot of thoughts just flooded my head. I said I need to save this and properly settle down and we'll look at it together. So here we are. Let's look into this because a whole lot of thoughts just is in my head when I saw this. I had heard of this just a little bit, but didn't really understand the scale. Okay, let's look through this then. Along the line, I'll give my thoughts because a whole lot is in my head, and I really love Japan because of anime and whatnot, and I'm just fascinated by their resilience and all. So, seeing this, just some minutes really shocked me to my core. So I needed to settle down, then we go over it together, on this channel. Okay, I know it's not the usual, okay, so if you don't want to watch, then that's up to you, okay, but let's just check this out, and yeah, I'll give my thoughts as we go on into this. Alright, so this was done by Sky Whisper. Okay, I'll drop the link in the description. So with that being said, let's check out this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe button. So with that, let's get into this. Onegaishimasu.
March 11th, 2011. A routine Friday became the deadliest day in modern Japan.
I mean, I saw this that I was like,
it was only the beginning.
This was the part that really,
a giant wall of water racing
really
towards
just
the coast.
Shocked my heart to the core.
Something that shouldn't have happened. From that moment, the disaster threatened not just Japan,
14/20/11.
the entire world.
It is a fact
this image is really
in this part of Japan that at this moment in time, there are not enough living to take care of the dead.
That was the part that shocked me, initially, and immediately I just zoned out of shock, and I had to pause and just get this to properly settle down so we can look at it. So let's see the rest, because I've heard of this particular incident. Also heard of nuclear power plant going off or thereabout, but not the crazy image of the flooding as shown here. Didn't really can't begin to fathom what it was like being down there with that amount of flood. That's crazy. Anyway, let's keep watching. 2011. Okay, let's continue.
The first warning signs appeared on March 9th, 2011.
There was a massive earthquake,
11:45
then a flood, then a nuclear disaster, but I did not think the flood was that insane.
Buildings and briefly alarming residents. It was powerful, but not unusual for a country accustomed to tremors. 3 more earthquakes occurred on the same day, in the same area, each with a magnitude exceeding 6.0. But life quickly returned to normal. And still, no one knew this was the Earth's first whisper before the roar.
That was before the main incident.
2:45 p.m. Japan's earthquake early warning system detected the initial P waves through over 1,000 seismometers spread across the country.
What's afternoon?
Immediately issued an emergency.
What if this thing came in the night,
As a result,
just out of the blue, jeez.
Factories shut down their machinery, and children in schools were instructed to take cover. Only when the ground began to tremble did they realize something was wrong. But by then, it was already too late.
Cranes up there. They're shaking like crazy.
I'm just imagining the people here, when these things happen.
2:46 p.m. a 9.1
I can't just beginning to imagine 9.1. Like that's one of the highest I've seen.
in the northwestern Pacific Ocean.
But that's
at a relatively
I recorded usually 8, but 9.
The epicenter was around 45 miles east of the Oshika Peninsula of Tohoku, Japan, and the tremors were felt throughout the country and even beyond.
The terrifying moment when it all began. A super earthquake and nowhere to hide.
You know, all my life I've never experienced an earthquake. Where I'm from, there are little to almost zero earthquakes. Never actually seen or experienced what it's like, and seeing these images really just haunts my soul. I've not experienced, thankfully, not experienced any flooding or earthquakes. So when I see images like this, I'm just like, how do people living here cope? And you know, we watch anime and whatnot, but that's when I saw this in Japan. It really just touched my heart, because I keep wondering how they go on with this type of stuff just hovering over your head anytime that is out of your control. I mean, nature can just spring up at one point and everything just turns into a disaster just like that, and there's almost nothing that you can do about it. It's really just it's really crazy, and it just really haunts my soul. Seriously. Let's continue.
The most terrifying part was that this was only the beginning. Since Kurihara City, Miyagi Prefecture, was closest to the epicenter, it experienced the strongest shaking, a 7 intensity on the JMA scale. However, very strong tremors were
Just
also
imagine you in the
felt
office
in
with all this happening, like
Fukushima, Ibaraki, and Tochigi prefectures.
not much.
Tokyo, which is about 232 miles from the epicenter, also witnessed the Earth's wrath as high rises continued to sway for minutes. But that's not all. Kyoto and Osaka,
Look
which
at that
the
image
epicenter,
now. Look at how the
also witnessed the
buildings
Earth's wrath as high
bending
rises continued to sway
left,
for
right, and
minutes.
center.
But that's not all. Kyoto and Osaka,
Nah.
which are hundreds of miles away in western Japan, also reported noticeable tremors. Outside Japan, parts of China, Russia, and Taiwan also felt the quake.
That far, that
In
means
fact,
that was
it was so
crazy,
intense that
insane.
seismic instruments detected it across the entire globe. The tremors were so strong that they
No wonder they
caused the
titled
Earth
this
to
video the day that
revolve
almost
about
ended the
7
world, like-
inches on its axis. For 6 endless minutes, the Earth did not stop. During this time, Japan realized that no technology could predict and stop what nature had awakened.
Nature.
Oh my god.
Hi.
Oh my god.
Like at this point, it's just to run out of the apartment, because the whole building can just come crashing down.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. This is weird. I've never experienced the ground shaking like this.
Mother and child were at home when the ground shook violently. Everything around her began to shake violently.
It's just to
and
grab
she
your child and
immediately realized
run
that it was a
outside. Like
major
at this point, no one should be inside the
She quickly
building.
grabbed her son
Exactly.
and ran outside, hoping that the shaking would stop soon. When she went outside, she saw more and more people running out of their homes. Each of them.
I mean, out of the
desperately
blue, your
trying
whole
to help
life
their
just
loved ones.
comes to a
Both she and her
halt,
son survived the
and everything
earthquake.
just becomes
The
insane.
worst was yet to come. Under the ocean, tension had been building for centuries, and on that
What
day,
an effect, though,
it
here.
broke through.
The bottom underneath is still
The
shaking.
way they depicted that,
We were just driving
God, that
and
is so
the
haunting.
car was shaking from left to right. It's amazing. It's
Let me
amazing.
see that again. I think they call this the Ring of Fire,
Bottom
right?
underneath is still shaking. We were just driving and the car was shaking from left to right. It's amazing. It's amazing. Everything was shaking. Really, really strong.
No,
You can
it's
see
beyond
still
amazing. This
cables
is
up there
insanely shocking.
moving.
When silence returned, Japan did not yet know that the real hell was just happening.
That's before the flood they showed in the
Island,
beginning.
Honshu had been pushed 7.9 feet eastward, while parts of the coastline
No
had sunk
freaking
nearly
way.
3
7.9 feet.
swallowed slightly deeper by the sea. Most of Japan's modern buildings survived, but a significant portion of
What kind
older
of forceful
structures
push
suffered
was
various
that
types
now?
of damage,
Jeez.
with oil refineries catching fire under the strong shaking. The Cosmo oil refinery suffered a worse fate as it burned
Oh
uncontrollably
my
for
god,
days,
looks like
turning the skyline
crazy
black
nuke.
with smoke and ash. The most destruction was observed near the epicenter, as it bore the full force of the 9-magnitude earthquake.
Can't begin to
Almost
imagine just being on the ground, seeing all this
from the
up
earthquake
close.
itself.
Almost 200 people lost their lives
As it
just
bore the
with
full
all
force
this.
of the 9-magnitude earthquake. Almost 200 people lost their lives to the earthquake itself, and the cost of destruction was staggering. An estimated 200 billion US
You know,
dollars.
this when there's nothing you can do,
Even in
200
the midst
billion.
of smoke and rubble, people believed they had survived the worst. But far below the calm-looking Pacific, the real disaster was awakening. Minutes after the earthquake, the ocean began to rise unnaturally.
This is after one
First
bad
ominous
incident
sign of a
to another
tsunami.
worse one,
2:49
to another even worse
Japan
one.
Meteorological Agency issued tsunami warnings. At the time, the maximum estimated wave heights were 20 feet, but a GPS buoy off of Iwate's coast soon detected a terrifying truth. The sea level was rising far faster and far higher than anyone had imagined.
Which was caused by the
This
earthquake.
wasn't a wave, it was a wall, and it was going to slam into Japan's coastline.
Live coverage of a river in Miyagi Prefecture. Tsunami obviously hitting, water going
Oh my
upwards
god,
towards
man.
the river.
The JMA quickly issued a second tsunami warning, upgrading the tsunami
I can't begin to
over
imagine
30
seeing
feet
this
for
just
Miyagi
coming straight
and
at
20
you.
for Iwate and Fukushima.
Just see now the massive scale.
3:21 p.m. A 26-foot
This is in the space of an hour.
in Iwate Prefecture, the closest city to the earthquake's epicenter.
Hi.
Miyako's position along the Sanriku coast,
It was just
with
here
its
facing
deep
the
V-shaped
coast.
bays, funneled and amplified the tsunami's power, causing it to
Okay, looks like a little bit of a crack, so it seems like it's sucking in the wave. From the look of where Miyako is situated, there's kind of a U-shaped sideways opening.
hit earlier and far more violently than anywhere else. But here's the remarkable part. The Sanriku district had already faced the tsunami's destructive forces before in 1933 and 1960.
Just see now.
And learning from those bitter experiences,
That is in the space of
protective
28
seawalls
years.
were built around the coastal area.
And they are prepared for this, so
Disasters. It seemed
what's
like
the size of the wall?
in learning from those
20
bitter
feet.
experiences, protective seawalls were built around the coastal area to protect it from future
What's the size of the
disasters.
seawall?
It seemed
Looks
like
quite large,
everything
a
was
little
safe,
bit large.
right? But the waves were so high
Oh
that they
my
crashed
goodness.
down on Sanriku with incredible force that
Can
day.
you imagine the height of, look at the height of this, like it's reaching the top, almost the top of a normal pole.
tossing cars, boats, and buildings like
See, now,
fragile
these are
toys.
high-rise buildings.
One man heard the sirens
story
and stepped
buildings.
outside, camera in hand, to capture the approaching waves. But nothing could prepare him for what he was about to witness.
I wonder how
The
one
ocean
moves on
was
after
moving
this,
faster than
like,
anyone imagined, swallowing the neighborhood in seconds. He quickly moved
this
towards
is really
higher
beyond
ground,
catastrophic.
soon realized that he wasn't high enough. The water kept rising, and the waves turned deadly, tearing houses from their foundations. He survived the tsunami, but a ticking bomb, just 100 miles away, was about to change his country's fate forever. 3:22 p.m. One coastal region after another
Is it
was struck by
the,
massive waves that
Fukushima
swept from
nuclear
Aomori
site or so?
Prefecture to Chiba Prefecture. Each town in the
Just see
tsunami's
now.
path suffered
That's like
extensive destruction.
600
Buildings,
kilometers or so.
Forts and homes were torn apart by the force of water. The
Just
seawalls
see
built
now.
to protect
And that's a
Japan's
story building
coastal
just sliding like that
no
too.
match for the tsunami's
Yeah,
sheer
like it's
weight
just
and power.
paper.
In Rikuzen Takata, waves rose high as a 3-story building. At Koborinai Taro, the water reached 124 feet, and at
124 feet. That's more than 4 stories now. Yes, isn't that's about 6 stories or so, 124 feet or so. Just imagine looking at that, just rushing towards you at a crazy speed of a bullet train coming towards you. I don't even know how people living here felt. I'm shocked.
Oe Anayoshi in Miyako City, it climbed to nearly 131 feet, wiping out everything in its
31
path.
feet, like,
This
just
was
see
the
now.
highest tsunami wave ever recorded in Japan, which means that many
1
residents had no
feet.
place to run.
That's so high now.
These images from Japanese TV show the terrible power of the water, sweeping away whole shipping containers and crushing buildings like tin cans.
Let's see now.
3:25 p.m.
Literal tin
Surging
cans.
water swept through coastal towns.
How does one move on after experiencing this? I mean,
Fuji and the southern part of Ofunato were among the hardest hit, with entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble across a 420-mile stretch of Japan's eastern coast.
and ordinarily the little floods that happen in pockets of the country I'm from, like, it looks so devastating, but it's this. This is really beyond catastrophic. Like, this little floods we experience is nothing compared to this. This is like the world is coming to an end. A total calamity of unprecedented scale. I don't even know, like, the images I'm seeing here. It's really piercing me to my soul. Like, seriously, it's really shocking.
From Erimo in Hokkaido to
I can't imagine being here. I don't even know, like,
devastation was
what
catastrophic.
would one
Much of
do.
it occurring within the first hour
See the
after the
amount of
earthquake struck.
debris now.
About 200 people, teachers, children, and parents were sheltering from the earthquake inside
Just
the
thinking
middle
about
of
the
school
students,
building.
like, how
The teachers
do
like
you cope with
go
this?
check the classrooms to make sure everyone's okay and start getting everyone to the gym.
They believed the worst was over, unaware that the ocean
The water
was
that
preparing
high,
a new
coming at that
merciless
speed.
strike.
Where do
Some
you
guy
go
with a
now?
helmet on, he ran in and he was like, "Tsunami's coming!" And then the principal was like, "Okay, everyone."
How
run
fast
back
can
to
you
the
run to
school."
get to,
They
like,
saw
the top of a mountain top or
like,
so?
everyone went back inside.
The tsunami
It's
tore
the
through
nearest
school
top
like
mountain or
raging
so, because
beast.
at this point, no building will be able to stop the rush of the waves at that height.
Everyone in its path. Risking his life, David Shum tried to save as many as he could,
Just see
pulling
now.
children and
Just
adults
see.
from the chaos of water
Just
and debris.
see.
I saw like one of my kids, like he was like struggling, so I grabbed him. I grabbed his shirt, and I was able to like pull him over to the side, and he was able to grab onto the railing. And I helped heave him over, and I saw like a big desk with like 4 or 5 of my kids like hanging on to it, and they're like saying, you know, they're shouting, like, "Help me, help us, help us." And finally, I was able to like grab a hold of the desk and pull it closer to me, and then was able to.
And they're still inside the building with all this is describing.
We find the toys, books, the shoes of the
Oh
children
my
piled inside
God.
with care and respect. 108 people were in school that day. 74 children and staff
74.
were killed.
Oh my
For
God.
the few who survived, the true ordeal was only beginning.
Hi.
3 minutes
That's
after
not
major
all, though.
waves had struck the
Look
town,
now. Imagine seeing this thing rushing towards you, just coming at your back.
receiving water moved with almost the same force as it had when it
As
came
after
in,
it came with that
pushing
speed.
debris, vehicles, and collapsed buildings back into the ocean. Many people who had clung to debris or
to just
floated
drag
on
them back to the
rooftops
ocean.
during the flooding were mercilessly swept away with a powerful current. Others
this
who had
now.
fled to higher ground helplessly watched their broken houses being pulled away into the sea.
And there's nothing you
It
can
was in
do.
this moment that people realized the true extent of the devastation. Entire
At least if it's
stretches
like a
of
fire
low-lying
outbreak,
land
you
were
can easily stop it. At least there's an effort you can put
operations
as it's
nearly
happened to
impossible.
stop it. But this one, there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can
More
do
than
until it actually
18,000
wants to
people had
stop.
lost their lives, out of which making rescue
Wait,
operations
did you say a single
nearly
day?
impossible. By the end of the day, more than 18,000 people had lost
That's
their
in
lives,
one day,
out of
18,000.
which several thousand bodies of victims were never recovered. The aftermath was unbearable to witness.
Hi.
Entire towns had vanished, replaced by silence and debris. 2 sons combed through the wreckage for their family, only to find their mother inside her car, lifeless, beside their niece and nephew.
There is no place to put this many bodies. The morgues are completely full. And frankly, there aren't enough
Just
people to
within
move.
that short
It
space of
is
time.
a fact in this part of Japan that at this moment in time, there are not enough living to take care of the dead.
Not enough
The
living to
devastating
take care of the
tsunami
dead. Like
stopped
that
at Japan's shores.
That is a
First from
freaking
the
haunting
epicenter,
statement.
racing across the Pacific Ocean at nearly 500 miles an hour.
500 miles an hour. That's about 1,200 kilometers an hour. That's like the speed of a jet, of a freaking military jet, flying at that super speed. And Japan, they bear the full brunt of this. Like, and this is it traveling across the Pacific at that speed. Now imagine the force it used to hit Japan.
Within hours, 12-foot waves struck Hawaii and the Aleutian Islands of
12-foot
Alaska.
waves, and that of Japan was over 120, reaching 131. And Japan already has gone through a lot.
In miles an hour. Within hours, 12-foot waves struck Hawaii and the Aleutian Islands of Alaska.
Just
reaching California.
The editing of this video looks very
the waves
amazing.
Destroyed the harbor. Docks were torn apart, boats smashed, and damage reached $25 to $30 million.
Over 7,000 kilometers away.
Piers were shattered, and losses exceeded $17 million. After 18 hours,
people that
the
far,
tsunami even reached Antarctica. A foot-high wave broke off part of the Salzburg
as far down
Glacier.
south as that.
While everyone was trying to comprehend the scale of the catastrophe, a more deadly crisis was unfolding at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant.
It's like it's the sequence and the short interval of all these things happen.
To explode. The power plant is located in Okuma and Futaba towns, Fukushima Prefecture, on Japan's east coast. When the earthquake struck at 2:46 p.m.,
but I didn't know that the tsunami was this insane before this happened. And it happened in like close interval, like no time to even think and breathe.
Prevent overheating. Inside the plant, Atsufumi Yoshizawa, an engineer responsible for reactors 5 and 6, had no idea that what seemed under control in just 55 minutes would turn into a full-scale catastrophe.
And they couldn't just abandon it like that and leave. They had to be there to see what they can do.
Towering over the plant's 19-foot seawall.
Oh my god,
let
me hear that again.
A full-scale catastrophe.
See
a
this
49-foot high tsunami wave struck the Fukushima coast, towering over the plant's 19-foot seawall.
That's almost 2 times the size.
Everything in its path. The wave flooded the plant, destroying diesel generators
how prepared
and
they were.
systems in the basement.
Imagine if they were not prepared.
Seconds, the facility was plunged into darkness. Cooling stopped, and the temperature in the reactors began to rise rapidly. The emergency signals coming to Yoshizawa were getting worse and worse. At that moment, he realized that the situation was getting out of control, and the station was on the verge of disaster. The Japanese government quickly
What do you do? What do you do with all this happening? Just consecutive.
Of the power plant.
Less than a week.
In the 2 to 6 mile zone were told to stay indoors, but as radiation levels spiked, the evacuation zone was expanded to a 6-mile radius. 7:30 p.m. Despite desperate attempts by engineers to reduce the pressure, the reactor continued to heat up rapidly. By morning, the temperature had reached critical levels, and internal components of the reactor began to melt, bringing disaster closer. 12th of March 2011, 3:36 p.m.
Within a day,
explosion
just
ripped through the first unit,
within
tearing
25
off the roof
hours.
of the reactor building. It was now clear that the Fukushima nuclear power plant was out of control, and the government quickly expanded the evacuation zone to 12 miles. But the nightmare continued.
All you can do is just pack your things around.
Specialists fought desperately to stabilize the plant. But on March 14th at 11:01, the third unit exploded.
And the worst part is this kind of place, you can't just abandon it and run, because the whole destruction,
and the release of
whole destruction will be worse.
And a partial meltdown of the core occurred in the second reactor. On March 15th, 2011, the second unit began to massively release radioactive gases. Although there was no
the whole destruction from the tsunami, now this
gave the highest radiation levels. On the same day, a fire broke out in the spent fuel storage area of the fourth unit, which released additional radionuclides into the atmosphere. It was then that Atsufumi Yoshizawa realized
And
that Fukushima
Japan, they've been
had
through a
finally
lot.
turned into a full-scale nuclear disaster.
The situation
I
still
wonder how you
under
come
control.
back
We're
from
hearing
this
radiation levels
massive
inside the
disaster.
plant reached as high as 1,000 times the normal level. So what started as a natural disaster has the potential to become an even more threatening man-made disaster.
The power plant had reached its most critical phase, and most people were expecting an evacuation. However, a small group of men, later known as the Fukushima 50, stayed inside the nuclear plant.
And this is
These men,
deliberately on their own accord.
employees, engineers, technicians, and operators, had a terrifyingly clear mission: stabilize the
stabilize
reactors,
it with the
prevent
whole
full
flood,
meltdown,
with the whole
and contain
tsunami
the
wave.
radiation at any cost. The Fukushima 50 were not soldiers or heroes by choice. They were ordinary workers who refused to leave.
Encounter this just out of the blue.
It's frightening. I don't know much about radiation.
Those are real heroes, man.
I believe that being exposed to large amounts of it meant certain death. So fear is only natural. But counteracting that fear was a sense of duty that all of us felt.
Yoshizawa
That's it. Because if you just abandoned, if everybody just abandoned this and run, it could have been way worse for everyone else.
Conditions to bring the station under control and restore hope for a safer future. In truth, without the Fukushima 50,
it would have been worse.
The nuclear disaster could have been far worse.
Exactly.
And the world might look very different today. Neo Kimura lived with his wife and two daughters next door to his parents. When the tsunami struck, the waves swept away his father, his wife, and his youngest daughter, 7-year-old Yuna. All that
That's what I'm saying. What time do you have to run with the speed at which the wave was coming? It was coming too fast. For the fact it was spreading throughout the Pacific at 500 miles per hour. That means before you can even think of getting all your things and everyone to move, it has already smashed your building and swept you all away. Except you were fortunate enough to see it coming from afar, then you can at least prepare just a bit from very much afar. But for those that were just at the coast there was just almost little time to get your things and get moving. But the thing is that this thing happened the hot afternoon, broad daylight like that. I'm just thinking, if this kind of stuff happened in night, it would have been way worse. And they were prepared. That is what even shocks me the most. They were prepared for this, but yet it still claimed this amount of lives and caused this much damage, even though they were prepared. Imagine if they didn't have the amount of preparedness for this.
During that day, which was found in a heap of rubble 6 months after the disaster.
Unfortunately, there was...
You hear that again, man. I'm so stunned. I'm shocked.
This is a shoe she was wearing that day, which was found in a heap of rubble 6 months after the disaster.
6 months after, that was his daughter.
Unfortunately, there was no time to mourn his family, as this is year-old Yuna. All that remained was the empty foundation where their home once stood.
I just seen it. Literally ripped the whole building off the foundation.
This is a shoe she was wearing that day, which was found in a heap of rubble 6 months after the disaster.
Unfortunately, there was no time to mourn his family, as Neo had to vacate the area due to the looming threat from the Fukushima power plant. More than
the earthquake, then the flood, then the whole nuclear disaster.
Okuma that day have been found.
Which one do you focus on? Which one? And happening just consecutively.
Power to the plant had been partially restored,
this was
but it
9
took
days
several
after.
more weeks before the cooling systems
6 weeks after
were
the
fully operational. The explosions left behind
they restored
more
it
than
fast.
just ruins.
Let's hear that again.
Partially restored. People who died in Okuma that day have been found, all except for Yuna.
Wait.
More than a decade later, the remains of all 111 people who died in Okuma that day have been found, all except for Yuna.
Except for that girl.
By March 20th, power to the plant had been partially restored, but it took several more weeks before the cooling systems were fully operational. The explosions left behind more than just ruins. Radioactive particles
the craziest car, man. This already scar one
even the United States and Europe.
For almost ever.
TEPCO later admitted that over 10,000 tons of contaminated water had leaked into the ocean. The fallout rendered vast areas around the plant uninhabitable, even after years of cleanup. more than 100,000 people remain displaced. The
In just an
Fukushima
instant.
disaster became the costliest nuclear accident in history, with expenses
Telling you,
exceeding
it all that happened just like that.
The 2011 Tohoku earthquake
Wait, what? $80
became the
billion?
costliest nuclear accident in history, with expenses exceeding $180 billion.
What about that from the flood and the total destruction
was not only
amount?
the most powerful ever recorded in Japan, its effects were felt around the world, and debris from Japanese towns still wash up on the North American coast, a haunting reminder of that
Even to this day?
More than 120,000 buildings were reduced to rubble. Nearly
Hi.
20,000 lives were lost, and thousands remain missing. The total damage reached $235 billion.
What
making
the
it
freak? That is almost on par with my country's GDP. Imagine losing all that within the space of a week. Just imagine a week for something that you have no freaking control over. Nothing. Just springs up out of the blue, just like that, and just wrecks everything. Just like that. The amount of lives lost, the damage caused, just like that from nature, just like that. This is what just shocks me. I've been hearing of this, but I didn't know it was this bad.
Expensive natural disaster in human history. Japan has risen to its feet once more, but March 11th,
Such resilient
2011
people.
left a scar not only on its land, but on the world's collective memory. A reminder of a power that shows no mercy.
Power that shows no mercy. Man, what a deeply scarring incident. Like, I was hearing of this back then. I think I was about finishing high school. Here we call it secondary school. I think I was in my penultimate year when I was hearing of this, but even in later years, I didn't know that it was like this insanely catastrophic. What I mostly was hearing frequently was that of the nuclear disaster, but not the amount of wreckage that the tsunami caused. And I didn't think it was within this short time frame, like within the space of 9 days. This all happened, and that crazy tsunami was just a day. Within a day, losing all that, causing all this from the earthquake to the tsunami to now the nuclear power plant issue all at once, just happening consecutively, one after the other. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, I wonder how like one experiences all this and bounces back. That's why I said, man, Japanese people are really resilient. You are really strong. I wonder how it must have been for those that were down here, ground zero, witnessing this just before your eyes, just like this, in an instant. Just happens, just like that. Over 100,000 buildings destroyed. 20,000 people just gone, just like that, in the space of 9 days, just from something totally uncontrollable. And they were prepared. That is another one that baffles me so much. They were prepared for this. They erected huge story building sized walls to block off stuff like this from occurring, because that happened before. And yet it was still this catastrophic. Like, well, the only thing I can say, at least it came during the day when people could see it and evacuate to some extent. What if it was like in the night, like pitch black darkness? You can't really see the magnitude of the waves coming, but at least it came in the afternoon. But regardless, it was still this insanely, destructively catastrophic. Like, just imagining just being down there, seeing all this, both for the kids, the adults, the government, like, all this just happening, just back to back, like, with you unable to do nothing. Because at this point, you can't do anything. It's not like a massive wildfire that at least you can take effort immediately to start containing. For this flood, the only thing you can do is run away until it wants to stop. That's what scares me the most. And now that I think back to 2011, that was the time, I think, when Naruto was airing. I think it should be the same time they released a certain opening that looked a bit goofy, but back then I didn't really understand why the switch in how the openings were. It was not later people were saying that it was to calm things down for a nuclear disaster that happened. I didn't know that it was this crazy sequence of incidents that were just so catastrophic that happened that made them release. I think there was like 2 openings back to back that was like kind of goofy, and I think someone was saying it was to cheer them up. Like, really, those openings, I can see why they did it like that, because anyone would need that to cheer up. No wonder they couldn't use the normal hyped openings, the other normal Naruto shocker openings that just set the tone for how the episode starts and whatnot. They just use something that just tones things down and calms the heart. That just looked a little bit goofy and hilarious. I can see why they did it that way, but back then I didn't really understand that. I was just there bashing the openings. Like, really, when you don't understand the context of things, you just go ignorantly just say some things that you really shouldn't be saying if you understood the whole, circumstances surrounding all that. And right now, seeing this, everything just makes sense in my head. Why it was like that for that Naruto opening. I think opening, was it 9, 10 or 11? I think 10 or 11 or so. Please tell me the opening number, okay? Because this video has really just shocked my heart. Really shocked my heart. And the fact that we were able to rebuild, stabilize the power plant just fast like that, I really give it to the Japanese. They are well coordinated and very resiliently strong. Like, you guys. I don't know what to say, but keep holding strong, man. With the amount of natural disasters that just go on there, I can't just begin to imagine just being down there and out of the blue experiencing something like this. Well, I want to end this by saying I wish you all over there the best. Keep staying strong and whatnot, and yeah, keep being resilient and prepared for anything, because, man, I don't know how one just bounces back stronger with this kind of stuff just looming over your head at any time. Like, flood is a insane disaster. Like, tsunamis are insane. They are way worse than normal just wildfire springing up. At least those ones are containable. This is impossible to contain when it starts. Like, imagine the speed of the height of the waves coming, just crashing onto the coast and just sweeping everything. You can barely react before it already hits you. That's if you are so close to the coast, except you just see it early from afar. But even with that, like the way it spread, even at still such speed, 500 miles per hour, that speed is insane. It's really insane. In fact, when I say miles, you don't really understand how fast. That is 1,200 kilometers. Like, if a jet passes above your head at 1,200 kilometers, it will release a sonic boom. Now imagine waves 5-story high moving that fast. That should just give you a context of the calamity this is. More strength to you guys, Japan. I love you so much. And I said, let me just check this out and just give my 2 cents and just say my heart's with all of you, and may the souls of all departed rest in peace. May they continue to rest in peace. Okay. So this is not the usual reaction, so I just let me check this out because I don't know why YouTube will pop this on my screen, because I've not really checked out anything similar to this, but maybe it's because I'm related to anime and just Japanese songs, and they just decided to just pop this on my screen. So I said, let me just check it out together with you guys. So yeah, that's that. And after that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep being strong, Japan. I love you all. Cheers.